let me ask you something. Are you focused on, checking off accomplishments, or are you focused on becoming someone who can accomplish anything? Because here's the reality. When you're goal oriented, you only look at the finish line. But when you are growth oriented, you're building the strength to run the race again, over and over again, and also for longevity. What happens when your goals are achieved? Do you stop growing? So I tell you this conversation. It's not really a conversation. It's a one-way live feed for transitioning military veterans, right? So transition out of the military, especially if you are, running a business or investing in real estate, it means you've already accomplished, quite a bit, But when you stop and when you stop for a second and ask yourself, what is the next growth sprout look like? And how do you continue to develop the new chapter of life beyond when you hit your goals? What is the next thing? So here's something that John Maxwell said. He said it beautifully, and I found it to be very useful. In fact, I've used it in many conversations with a plethora of leaders that I've talked to, business owners and military veterans as well too, right? John Maxwell said, and here it is. He said, when you're goal oriented, you're focused on accomplishments. However, when you're growth oriented, you're focused on development. Think about that for a second. Really think about it. We all love, checking off our goals, whether it's, if you're a veteran, landing a DoD contract, or closing on a real estate property if you're a real estate investor. No, but developing skills and mindset, the network is really what's going to propel you to meet the next level of yourself. Take for example, you know, I was speaking to plethora of veterans who transition to civilian life, and you know, they get that first corporate jobs, or they might have launched a small business. They set their goals, and they set the goal of replacing their income, which is one of the biggest things that we deal with, right? When we transition from the military, there's a gap in income that we need to replace, and yes, shortly after we transition, it's really it's really simple to replace that the gap in pay. So when you replace the gap in pay, what is next? And here's what I want to talk about in the next part of this live feed. I want to talk about the importance of growth mindset in business and investing. It should take me about 3 minutes in this part. So now let's tie this back to real estate and small business ownership. When you are goal oriented in business or investing, you focus on closing the deal, getting the contract, and growing revenue. Uh, However, when being growth oriented means, it's a little bit something different. It's about continuous improvement, because when you build a business, or even when you start a new career field, you're doing this for longevity, right? This one thing may be a thing to get you to the next thing, to get you to the place that you want to be in your life, right? So it's about looking beyond the next quarter and asking, am I building a business and or investment strategy that can stand the test of time? you know so here's a little bit something to think on. Military training is all about preparing for you know development. We're always being ready. The same is true whenever we transition to the civilian world. you we, every single one of us need to be constantly growing our knowledge, improving our systems, and preparing for the unexpected, because trust me, the market change, the economy shifts, and of course the opportunity involves. And if we're not growing at the level of which we need to grow to keep up with, like maybe not competitors, but as it changing in the operating environment, but then we might be left behind, and we might see that our business might wilter a little bit, right? So next thing I want to talk about is the transition from military, from the military to business, to the business world. let's talk about the transition. When you're in the military, your goals are pretty much clear, right? We have strategic, operational, all the way down to the tactical level. All those goals are pretty clear, right? The mission is laid out, the objective is defined, and the path to success is mostly charted for the organization. But when you step into civilian world, especially as a business owner or an investor, you're suddenly in uncharted territory, right? There is some folks have put it after action report out there, which if we choose to, look at those clues that success have left behind, then we can get ahead, right? Now, however, whenever we step out of the military environment into civilian environments, we are the ones setting the goals, and we are responsible for our own growth. So I've worked with many of veterans, also some non-veterans as well too, right? Who said, "Hutch, I've done everything right. I got my degree. I built a business. I invested in real estate, but I feel stuck." And because they're so focused on hitting the immediate goals, they forget to think about how to continue growing after achieving those goals, right? So now let's talk. Next part of this, I want to talk about the power of continuous development, and I want to tie it into real estate a little bit, right? So um, growth isn't about just reading another book or attending another seminar. In fact, tonight I'll be flying out to Denver, Colorado, to go to the active duty passive income conference. They call it ADPI Con. I'm super excited about being in a room filled with active duty members and veterans, right? Sharing war stories, and also talk about this growth mindset that we're talking about, right? So growth is not about just reading out a book, right? It's about the intentional development. It's about refining your strategy. And if you're an accredited investor, you've already got the asset. Um, however, um, however, you are you can use the asset. You can use the asset to leverage the trajectory that you want to go on, right? Now, are you looking into multifamily syndication to scale up your real estate portfolio? There might be one option available to you, right? And now that you have this nest egg, or you've reached accreditation, the accredited investor status, now what is next? What is beyond that? How does accredited investors invest? How do they ensure that they have a well balanced portfolio? And of course, real estate should be a consideration of that portfolio, right? So it's important that you are surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger. And here's the thing: when you're growth oriented, especially in real estate, you're not just thinking about the next property that you're going to buy. You're thinking about how to position this into whether the market change or the diversity in portfolio, or how can you assist others with taking their life, their finances to the next trajectory, right? So in all actuality, you are helping small communities by improving the quality of living for the residents. You're also helping people who want to come along with you as well, right? So here's my challenge to you today, man. Don't just focus on goal, focus on growth. Don't just think about what you want to achieve. Think about the person that you need to become to achieve those things. And if you're transitioning from the military and running a business or building an investment portfolio, remember this: you already achieve a bunch. And Benjamin Hardy wrote this book. It's called The Gap in the Game, which talks about measuring backwards, right? And it's important to understand that you've come a long way. However, you have a lot more living to do. So um, what's the difference between an average veteran owned and a thriving business? Well, what is the difference between an investor who just meet their financial goals and one who build lasting legacy? It's growth, it really is growth, the long-term commitment towards growth, the constant pursuit of better, the constant refinement of your craft, your network, and your mindset. You got to have that discipline, or demonstrate the discipline that we have grown to own over the years as service members, right? So now it's time for you to focus on development. So in closing, stay focused on growth, or stay growth oriented, my friends, because while while you may while you may get across, while goals might get you across the finish line, growth is going to keep you into the race for the long haul. So let's build a future, you know, one step, one lesson, one development at a time. So I trust that you took away something valuable from this. Um, and I ask that you continue growing. And if you're going to be an active, be the passive income, con, I'll see you there tomorrow morning. So until next time, take care.